لله الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا مباركا طيبا فيه مباركا عليه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى وصلى الله على النبي المصطفى المجتبى صلاة تطيب بها القلوب وتكشف بها الغموم والكروب وتغفر بها الذنوب صلاة وسلاما دائمين متلازمين إلى يوم جمع الثقلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم صدق الله المولانا العظيم. Respected ulama, memorizers of the Holy Quran, brothers and sisters, both junior and senior, and those listening through alternative means and devices, close or far away. I greet you all with the greetings of Islam and extend my warmest best wishes and du'as for those who have been involved in establishing this program. This time of the year is a time where the top part of the globe, the northern hemisphere, slowly grinds to a halt and is referred to as, in some parts, the holiday season, the festive season, the party season, the religious season. Amongst the names that are given to this period that we embark upon now is equally a reflective period, when the human being reflects upon the past year, what will be important for the next year. So if you visit websites which try to analyze the past year, predicate what may occur next year, you will find it's a season of reflection. So it's equally important for us, whilst we take a break from mundane activities of our temporal duties and responsibilities, whether we're teaching or whether we're working in other fields. The point of reflection is, where are we heading? We live in a world where the lines between what is right and what is not right are becoming blurred. It's becoming difficult to know what is right, what is wrong. Society moves in one direction, yet people's values that come from their own faith say something else. What is true and what is false is equally becoming blurred. Who to believe and who not to believe is equally becoming blurred. In such a scenario, how can we ensure that we have that eye and we have that understanding, we have that mind, and we have that intellectual depth by which we can discern what is right and what is wrong, what is true and what is false? Rasul alayhi salatu was salam taught us a dua to be done after salah or any other time for that matter. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqni ittiba'ah. Oh Allah, show me the truth as it is. In an age where I have just said, it's difficult to know what is right and what is wrong. Who is saying the truth and who is fabricating a pack of lies? Dua as an antidote for that. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam taught us, Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam taught us, oh Allah, show me the truth as it is. So even the ability to recognize the truth, what is true, what is not true, who is lying and who is saying the truth, or who is covering up, give me that ability to recognize that. That is from Allah as well. And that was a dua of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. He equally went on to say, وَأَرِنِي الْبَاطِلَ بَاطِلًا وَارْزُقْنِي اجْتِنَابَهُ. Show me falsehood, lies, roguishness as they are, and grant me the ability to stay away. So in an age where we are, at times, the best of us are struggling to discern, figure out what is right and what is wrong here. Who is right and who is lying. This is an important dua to learn. And the reason behind that is because behind this dua, Allah Rabbul Alameen's Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught us that if you want to be a leader, and today's day and age, a growing trend, a growth industry is leadership training. You will be perhaps shocked to learn that some sources which follow these patterns indicate that the world is spending and telling us that leadership industry is worth $366 billion US. How to be a leader, how to lead organizations, how to lead small groups, large groups, middle-sized groups. All of the CEOs of big companies, Amazon, Apple, Meta, X, etc., Microsoft, all of them will have had leadership training. But nearly a new day of the year, $1 billion US is being spent. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam also taught us, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. Each one of you is a leader, not just the one who leads a large organization. And each one of you, he further said, Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam informed us, each one of you will be asked about your leadership. If the world's leaders, the world's movers and shakers are receiving high-flying leadership training, then in each and every single one of us as leaders, where is our high-flying leadership training? What is our high-flying leadership training? These are the questions if we pose to reflect in a season of reflection. When Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu was about to depart from this world, his period of leadership was 2 years. From 12 to 14 Hijri, or 632 to 644. 632 to 634, sorry. In 2 years, the Muslim empire saw civil issues. You had an individual who was claiming to be a prophet after the Prophet ﷺ, the final prophet. You had a group which was claiming not to pay zakah, was it had already been institutionalized 9-10 years ago. Those two key civil issues were there. And Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu led from the front. But at the end of his life, he said to Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, whilst he was counseling him, And he said, these are not the issues that I'm going to counsel you about. I'm going to counsel you about something else. Whilst you assume a position of leadership, and each one of us is in a position of leadership, we have different posts of leadership. Rasulullah described the different posts of leadership. A teacher is a post of leader in the classroom. A husband is a position of leadership in the house. A wife is in a position of leadership in caring and making that house a home. An imam is in a position of leader. The female tutor is in a position of leadership. Each one of us is a leader. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam taught Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu counseled Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The final stages of his life is, what did he say? The one final counseling, nasiha that he came. Be careful of your own self. When you come to position of power, be careful of your own self and your own ego. We call this in Urdu language, hubbe jah, the love of fame and power. Which if you read the works of our mashayikh, that the love of power, the love of fame is much more damaging than the love of wealth. हुब्बे जाह ज़्यादा मुहलिक है हुब्बे माल. And this is, for this reason, we need to understand here the psychology behind all this. Why is it that an elderly person with a frail body, with weak limbs, hardly any meat on his or her body, is able to stand up in 20 rakats of Taraweeh, fast for the full day, perhaps without having much suhoor at all? Yet on the other hand, a young person with a V-shaped body, with bulging muscles, is unable to convince himself to perform even 8 rakats of Taraweeh. I'm not sanctioning 8 rakats of Taraweeh. Far from it. I am providing the example here. What is it that is allowing or convincing, inspiring, encouraging this elderly person to stand up for 20 rakats behind an imam and he does not understand one single word of what is being recited? Yet on the other hand, the younger person is convincing him or herself, I just need to perform Isha Salah and a few more rakats afterwards and I'm done and dusted. Why is it that that young individual with a V-shaped body and bulging muscles will say, I did not wake up for suhoor, therefore I'm not going to fast, yet the other individual with the elderly person or the middle-aged person will say, irrespective of waking up for suhoor or not, I'm going to fast? Why is it that individual who may have diabetes, may have been advised by his physician, his general practitioner, his doctor, said, do not fast long fast because you will need your intake of medication. Yet that individual says, no, I'm going to fast. I cannot miss a fast of Ramadan. I've never missed it in my life. Yet how is it that the other individual who has no reason not to fast, no shari'i impediment is there? Oh, I don't feel like it today. I'm not in the mood. I'm not going to fast. What is it? How can we understand this scenario? What guidance does Islam offer? It's the same guidance that Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu provided for Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala. When the ayah of Rasul of Quran came, وَالَّذِينَ يَكْنِزُونَ الذَّهَبَ وَالْفِضَّةَ وَلَا يُنْفِقُونَهَا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فَبَشِّرْهُمْ بِعَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. This particular ayah verse is related with zakat. Those who hoard the wealth, hoard silver, hoard gold, group of companion, Thawban, who was in the service of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, asked, if only there was more clarity of what is that good wealth that we can give in the path of Allah, which can be good for us. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam informed, yes, that verse is about zakat. And it's teaching Muslims that what Allah may have given us, we are simply custodians of it, and there is a responsibility to circulate that wealth to the poor. Take from the rich and give to the poor. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam informed us further that if you want to do good, make sure you have a tongue that is full of sugar. You have a heart that is full of sugar. The difference between the scenarios that I put in front of you, that elderly gentleman who can stand for 20 rakats for understanding a word, that young man who is struggling to stand for even 8 rakats, is the heart. The pillar of any devotional activity is a strong spiritual heart. That understanding is here. لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا. The Quran says there is a function for this heart, not just to provide blood around the body, not just to provide something that allows us to live and function, but there is a function of the spiritual heart to give us in-depth analysis and insights. We call that basira. We call that faqaha. This is where the word faqih comes from, deep understanding. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam made the dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min arba'. Oh Allah, I seek your refuge in you from four things. Min ilmin la yanfa', from knowledge that is non-beneficial, i.e. grant me knowledge that is beneficial. Beneficial to me, beneficial to people around me, beneficial to the whole citizenship. Wherever I go, take that knowledge with me and let people benefit. There's a lesson for us here, and that the function of knowledge is to spread it, not to keep it. Knowledge was never a PLC in Islam. It was not only for your savings knowledge. Knowledge was made to spread. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa' wa min qalbin la yakhsha, and from a heart that does not tremble. I.e. from a heart. The Quran uses different words in different places. Taqwa is not the fear of God. Taqwa is a consciousness about the Creator. Awesome consciousness that is with you. You are self-policing yourself. Self-policing. And in that self-policing, there is your taqwa. You know you're accountable. When you take out accountability, people will do as they wish. Then your nafs takes over. وَمِن قَلْبٍ لَا يَخْشَى. Do not give me a heart that does not tremble. وَمِن نَفْسٍ لَا تَشْبَعْ. And from a self, an ego that does not become satiated, that is never filled. Always wants more and more and more and more. This is why I said we live in an age where there's simply too many distractions, where it's becoming very easy for the nafs to become entangled in things and difficult to come out. So in that scenario, if we still have to be that leader that Rasulullah has informed us, and it is our iman, our belief, that the word of the Quran and the tongue of the Prophet do not lie. Each one of us is a leader. And we're all accountable. Then we learn that the pillar of our life is a strong spiritual heart. Hazrat Aqdas Maulana Ilyas Kandalvi Sahab Rahmatullah. You will have heard his name. His son Hazrat Aqdas Maulana Yusuf Kandalvi Sahab. You will have heard of his name. These are our elders of the Tabligh Jamaat movement. Hazrat Aqdas Maulana Yusuf Saab Rahmatullah alayhi Kandali said the Ummah is not created by individuals simply doing worship, ibadah. If that was the case, that worship makes you stronger, worship gives you progress, then the example he gave for us to reflect in this season of reflection, Ibn Muljim, you may well have heard of him. He was the one who attacked Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu was the first Khalif. After him, I mentioned Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was Khalifa for 10 years. From 634 to 644. 14 Hijri to 24. After Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, and by the way, the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, Islam spread from West Africa all the way to China. The middle part of the world became Muslim. Within 100 years, Islam had spread. But these 10 years were very, very strategic in understanding the spread of Islam. After Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, was Usman ibn Affan, from 644 to 656. And in 650 was the movement to collect the Quran. 24 to 36. Then Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala issues as well, once again. In that time, when Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala was attacked by Ibn Muljim, I was saying about Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi and his point of reflection for the Ummah, that the Ummah, an individual of the Ummah, do not become strong just by worship, just by iman. If that was the case, Ibn Muljim, when the companions, in order to avenge his aggression and attack against Ali radiallahu ta'ala, wanted to cut off his tongue, what did he say? What did he say? He said to them, you can cut off any limb of my body, but please preserve my tongue. And he gave a reason for that as well. And the reason he gave for preserving his tongue, so for this tongue I do tasbih, tahmeed, taqdees, tajleel of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do tasbih, I glorify Allah. I say subhanallah, alhamdulillah, I say takbir, Allahu Akbar. My tongue is used for that. And this is what he was doing all the time. But despite that, he attacked Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. How is it that somebody who is so conscious that he departs from this world whilst glorifying Allah Rabbul Alameen and taking the name of Allah Rabbul Alameen can become so diverted that he attacks Ali radiallahu ta'ala? And that is because the heart is not right. And the heart can only become right just like the leadership training for the leaders of this world. They go to other leaders to be mentored. In the same way, each single one of us need to go to a leader to be mentored. Shaitan is another individual who we listen when we recite, when we listen to the Quran. When we read the Quran, we see, if we put his CV together, Inna shaitan lakum aduwwun mubin. He is described as somebody who is gharur, somebody who is treacherous, somebody who is an open enemy. In the Quran, it's described that on the day of judgment, وَقَالَ الشَّيْطَانُ لَمَّا قُضِيَ الْأَمْرَ Shaitan will say when the matter will be decreed, when Allah Rabbul Alameen will have decided everything, the day of judgment. Inna Allah wa'adakum wa'ad al-haq. Because on that day, people will be looking for a get-out clause. How do I save myself now going and to be thrown into the pit of hellfire? How do I promise? Some people will come up with this explanation. Oh Allah, I did not go and never did shirk. Wallahi Rabbina ma kunna mushrik. Allah Rabbul Alameen says, okay, have it your way. Zip it. Al-yawma nakhtimu ala afwahihim. The bodily limbs will speak. These bodily limbs are not ours. The common phrase, my body is my temple. Your body is simply your temple to look after it. Because you're a custodian. These bodily parts are Allah's CCTV. We now have smart motorways, do we not? This is a smart body. I'm not glorifying my own body shape, by the way. This is a smart body in the way Allah has made it. That these limbs will testify against us in the day of judgment. So make sure, whether in private or in public, we do things that are simply to please Allah. On the day of judgment, says Shaitan, Inna Allah wa'adakum wa'ad al-haq. Allah Rabbul Alameen promised you a true promise. I said at the beginning, it's difficult to know what is right and what is wrong nowadays. Allah Rabbul Alameen promised you a true promise. وَوَعَدْتُكُمْ, and I promised you. Shaitan said, I promised you as well. You had the promise of Allah on one side and you had my promise on the other side. You don't know my promise. وَوَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ, I have broken my agreement with you. وَمَا كَانَ لِي عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ إِلَّا أَنْ دَعَوْتُكُمْ فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي. I had no power over you except to invite you, entice you. You fell for it. فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي فَلَا تَلُومُونِي. Don't blame me. فَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Blame yourselves. This is why, in order to save ourselves as leaders from the pitfall of our own nafs, the example of Abu Bakr Siddiq was given to Umar bin Khattab. Be careful of your own self. Hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "A'da aduwwik ma bayna jambayk." Your staunchest enemy is between your flanks, and that's your own self. Fighting our own self in an age where everything is geared to glorify yourself. It is for this reason why we need a mentor in our life. And it is for this reason why we need to go and the leadership program of such a mentor. Now, what is the leadership program? It is not simply to manage a house. It is not simply to manage an organization. It is not simply to run a class. It is much more than that. That leadership program, brothers, in simple language, in the language of hadith, it's called ihsan. In the language of the Quran, it's called taqwa. In the language of mashayikh, it's called tasawwuf. There is an Urdu poet who says, मैं किसी हजरत आपके लिए आपकी खिदमत में ये शेर है, मैं किसी से ये क्यों पूछूं तसव्वुफ किसे कहते हैं। और हजरत अब्दस हमारे दोस्त साथी, हमारे इमाम साहब हजरत अब्दस मौलाना ज़ियाउल हक साहब जो सुन रहे हैं हुजरे शरीफा के अंदर, यानी उनके हुजरे शरीफा में हजरत अब्दस सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की तरफ इशारा नहीं है, उनकी खिदमत में ये उर्दू का शेर है। मैं किसी से ये क्यों पूछूं तसव्वुफ किसे कहते हैं, खुद अपने दिल को देखा और समझा इसको कहते हैं। न सूरत का तसन्नु, न रस्मों का तकल्लुफ, न सूरत का तसन्नु, that means there is no acting here, no dong, no bodily postures, no enactment, न सूरत का तसन्नु, न रस्मों का तकल्लुफ. No, is there simply following rituals. न सूरत का तसन्नु, न रस्मों का तकल्लुफ. खुद ही खुदा से झुको, बस यही है तसन्नु. Bow down before Allah yourself, because when you bow down by yourself, this is sincerity now speaking from you. You don't bow down because you have to bow down, you bow down because you want to bow down. That's the difference. The poetry is not finished yet. अब इन्हीं अल्फाज से ज़हन खुफ्ता को जगाना है. अब इन्हीं अल्फाज से ज़हन खुफ्ता को जगाना है. खुफ्ता from खुफ्तन. With these very same words, we now have to awaken a dormant and sleeping intellect. अब इन्हीं अल्फाज से ज़हन खुफ्ता को जगाना है. शरीयत सर झुकाना है. तरीक़त दिल लगाना है. We all know how to do this. Do we know how to put this into it? When you go to the gym, if you can afford a trainer, your trainer will say, put some meat into it. Put some meat into it. If you're washing cars, you go to get your car washed, and you're saying your car is not being washed, you will say, put some elbow grease into it. One thing is worshipping Allah Rabbul Alameen and bowing in ruku and sajda. The other thing is going into ruku and going into sajda and enjoying that ruku and sajda. Not wanting to come because you enjoy it. That then leads you to stand up and cry. Why is it that our mashayikh were able to wake up for 2 hours? Why is it that one Budruk is able to go 1,000, 10,000 Durud Sharif in one book? Because the heart has been cured. When the heart has been cured by the leadership program, and that leadership program, by the way, does not cost £1 billion. This is why each sheikh went to his mentor. Even Rabia Basriya, there's a masjid named after her on Mount Olive in Jerusalem. Rabia Basriya went to their sheikh for that training package. And that leadership package, in short, taught 5 main things. It taught, number 1, to have a conscious awareness of Allah Rabbul Alameen in privacy and public life. It's easy to be the best of the best in public. Then one degrades oneself to being simply from the rest in private. And this thing can degrade the best of the best in private. So taqwa, conscious awareness of Allah. You look at Surah Nisa at the beginning, Ya ayyuhan nasu ttaqu. After that, we have about 29 commands that the Muslim community needs to behave this way. Yusikumullah, inheritance. This rule, that rule, this rule, that rule, this rule, that. Surah Ma'idah. A finishing off of the message we started in Surah Nisa. We have another 21 rules. We have 50, 60 rules in 2 surahs that complement each other. In the beginning of that, this is Muslim community being spoken to. Before that was the Christian community. In Surah Baqarah, the Jewish community was being spoken to. In beginning of all of this is Ya ayyuhan nasu ttaqu rabbakum allazi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida. The ayat we listen to, the ayat nikah. Why is it that we have a set of 50, 60 rules, and at the top, the first thing you listen to is have taqwa? Because all of those rules concern public life and private life. Unless you have your sense of, in your heart, I am ultimately accountable to Allah Rabbul Alameen, these rules mean nothing. How many times do you hear stories on TV or newspapers, on the radio? You read in the newspapers that in the positions of power, so many people in such corruption. where you have no accountability, whether in this world or the hereafter, people will do that. So the first program of leadership, point of reflection, is how are we going to build taqwa in our lives, in private life and public life. Second point was ittiba' sunnah, training of the mashayikh. Each and every sheikh didn't become a sheikh. It was their love for the following of the sunnah. They didn't do the sunnah because, oh, I'm a believer in the Prophet ﷺ, I should do this. They wanted to do this. Our mashayikh even practiced how to walk like the Prophet ﷺ. How to walk. How is our salah according to the Prophet ﷺ? Nowadays, if you watch Jummah Salah, how many people, after the Imam Sahib said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, the Imam Sahib is still looking at the left side and half the masjid is gone. Imam Hazrat Sayyid, don't even have to do dua. Ad-du'a mukhul ibadah. That is the time when Allah is saying, ask me, what do you want? We're off. Sometimes it's faster than the Grand National. Exit for the door. Ittiba'u sunnah, where do the sunnahs go? Sunnah before Jummah Salah, sunnahs after Jummah Salah. Why is our mindset ittiba'u sunnah? Oh, I have to do this, I should do this. I want to do this. That was step number 2 of the leadership. Step number 3 of the leadership program, that focus your mindset only on Allah Rabbul Alameen, not towards mankind. The highest form of reliance on Allah Rabbul Alameen, the mashayikh, once you ask from Allah, don't ask anyone else. Remain absolutely fixed on Allah Rabbul Alameen. 4th point of training. And this was to be absolutely happy with whatever Allah gives. You and I are both watching what's happening in Palestine. But the smile on their faces. Their child is going. You and I are losing grandmothers, grandfathers, elderly uncles and aunts, and we are crying. We're losing one person. They may have been ill, terminally ill. We know they're in the last stages of their life, but they're going, we're still hurt because we've lost a loved one. They are losing loved ones every minute. And they are saying, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. They have no food. Alhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. No electricity. If the electricity went here right now, I would be very surprised to see how many people remain here. If the heating went off, I would be very surprised to see how many people stay. Where are we? If we're reflecting in a time of reflection, and we want to be leaders, where are we in our claim to be leaders? And where are we in our claim to be believers? That's what we, whether it's good or bad times, whether we have a small amount or whether we have a large amount. And the final phase of development, to turn to Allah Rabbul Alameen and be happy with Allah Rabbul Alameen, whether in hardship time or good times. I have gone on beyond my time. Actually, I don't even know how long is my time. Maulana, idhar gate. Maulana, you know. So, this is the phase of reflection. And in that time of reflection, we need to be leaders. We need to be leaders so that Islam carries on for well beyond 100 years. Hazrat Aqdas Maulana Yusuf Sahib Rahmatullah alayhi says, it is your spiritual heart that makes the ummah. We need to be an ummah which has healthy spiritual hearts. This is why Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam taught us, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min qalbin Oh Allah, I seek your protection. I seek refuge in you from having a heart that simply does not shake. How many of us in our private moments will stand up for the sake of humanity, all those lives that have been lost, and shed a tear, and realize how much Allah has blessed us? Why is our heart not leading us to be grateful for what we have? These are the lessons of this stage of reflection, this phase of reflection. There is much more to be said on this matter of how to develop a heart. Even what we eat has an effect on how this is. Imam Muslim rahmatullah alayhi narrates a long hadith: الحلال بين والحرام بين وبينهما مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس فمن اتقى الشبهات استبرأ لدينه وعرضه ومن وقع في الشبهات وقع في الحرام كالراعي يرعى حول الحمى يوشك أن يقع فيه ألا إن في الجسد لمضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله. رواه مسلم. This hadith starts off talking about food, ends up talking about the heart. What is the connection between food and heart? That we now are told, you are what you eat. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. Islam told us a long time ago, you are what you eat. Your thinking process, your thought processing ability, your speaking with pure language is with what you're feeling. This is what Allah taught us. Eat from that individual upon whom Allah's name has been taken. Because we are created to serve Allah. But that servitude requires following. And the reason for why that process has been given to us of slaughtering the animal, which we have 4 veins here. And if you want, you go to the gym, watch a person holding weights, you will see their bulging veins coming out, popping out here. To push blood up from the heart, up to here, and back down. In Islam, these 4 veins, Hazrat Maulana, he sat here, says if you want to make an animal halal for you, slit. 4, 3, 2. Everybody agrees on 4. Some ulama say 3. Some ulama say 2. Nobody says 1. The reason for that is that you simply need to slit because the blood needs to come out. Blood needs to gush out. And once it gushes out and the animal is drained from its blood, then it becomes halal if Allah's name has been taken on it. If the animal is simply slit and Allah's name is not taken on it, it doesn't matter. Why is the blood necessary to be taken off? Because blood carries toxins, and that is damaging for the human health. And that food needs to be allowed to impact the heart, to make a spiritually healthy heart. This is why Hazrat Aqdas Maulana Ahmad Ali Lahori Sahib Rahmatullahi Alayhi, Mufassir al-Quran, who was buried in a graveyard in Lahore. I visited Lahore a few months ago. I visited his grave. Maulana Ahmad Ali Lahori Sahib, he was the Mufassir of Mufassirin. He was the teacher of Hazrat Aqdas Maulana Ali Mian Sahib, Abul Hasan Ali Mian Nadvi Sahib Rahmatullah Alayhi, was a scholar among scholars who knew how to interpret the Quran. He learned it from Maulana Ahmad Ali Lahori Sahib. Maulana Ahmad Ali Lahori Sahib said, would say, if somebody stays with me for 40 days and nights, eats what I feed him, I guarantee on the 41st day, where the unknown world, the hidden world of what is in the graves will become revealed. 40 days, you eat what I give you to eat. You stay with me, I guarantee on the 41st day. Allah. May Allah Rabbul Alameen, in this phase of reflection and time that we have, we understand how important it is to have a mentor in our life, and a right mentor, who has taqwa in privacy and public, who has a love, natural love to follow the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is dependent of Allah's creation and totally turned towards Allah Rabbul Alameen in every situation, who is happy whether they have a lot or a small amount, who are happy in good times and bad. That mentor is very necessary to have in our life. Otherwise, even the alim is limited in his, or alima is limited in her progress without that mentor. How many of us would be able to have a good driving record without a driver instructor? Even after passing the test, how many of us still make mistakes? May Allah Rabbul Alameen grant us to make the dua in our lives. The Prophet Allah, show me the truth as it is, and grant me the ability to follow it. Show me falsehood and lies as they are, and grant me the ability to stay away from them.